Bob Thill here in our studios at the Dynamark Home Security Network. On our program today, you'll hear the real-life stories of people who were victimized by burglars and by fire. People probably a lot like you who never thought that anything like this could ever happen to them. You'll hear about their tragic experiences, and more importantly, you'll have the chance to learn from them. You'll also hear from convicted burglars who will reveal some of the inside tricks of this all-too-common trade. You'll hear from a 28-year veteran of a suburban police department and from a fire chief. They'll share with you some of the ways that you can protect yourself and your family from the ever-present threats of crime and fire, including what they consider to be the very best defense, installing a monitored security system. Throughout the next half hour, we'll also have our professional Dynamark security consultant standing by to talk to you in person. And periodically, you'll see their number on the screen. Please feel free to call any time during this broadcast to share your concerns and receive answers to your home security questions. But right now, our field reporter Betty Sexton will introduce you to Michelle and the story of a life turned upside down.
Bob, for Michelle, February 4th, 1998 was just the end of another workday. She was looking forward to being home when her children arrived from school. What she didn't expect was to have her life turned around.
I had come in and all the doors were open. The living room was in shambles. The refrigerator was open. They had crushed a can of soda all over the inside of my refrigerator. They'd scratched furniture, thrown toys all over my children's rooms. They had destroyed my room, clothes out of the closet, the bed overturned, everything.
You know, in talking to other burglary victims, you hear about how they feel violated. What did this do to you emotionally?
Somebody's come in, they've seen everything about you. They've seen every personal detail you have. They went through drawers. They touched sentimental things that belonged to my kids, that my kids had given to me. They ripped up pictures that the children had given me and stolen jewelry that my kids had given to me on holidays.
What about the emotional impact on your children?
The children were scared. Later that evening, after we had kind of tried to put things back together, they had asked many times, what if they come back? So we all spent the evening in my room, and I didn't sleep very, very well that night.
Michelle, now that it's already happened, will there ever be anything that will erase the feelings and the emotions that you went through?
No, it won't. We've been working very hard on trying to remodel, do a facelift, and we're leaving. This home that I bought that was supposed to be my sanctuary for now no longer is. They violated that, they've taken away my privacy, and it just isn't home. So as soon as we can, we're leaving.
So the emotional scars are those that really don't go away?
They don't go away.
Do you feel like you're going to be a better protector next time?
I think so. I think I'll be much more aware. My next home will definitely have a security system.
No more chances.
No more chances.
Months later, and the pain of burglary is still fresh in Michelle's mind. She's coping, but it's not easy.
I know you've covered a lot of crime stories, Betty. Is this one unusual in any way?
Unfortunately, no, Bob, not at all. Last year alone, over 2.5 million homes were burglarized, and amazingly, over 40% of those burglaries took place during the day. Now, I think we all develop a false sense of security the longer we live in a particular neighborhood or stay in the same house. For Michelle, she did everything she should have done, made sure the windows were secure and the door was locked, but in the end, it didn't matter.
What are some of the precautions people should take?
There are many basic precautions we always hear about from law enforcement officials. In fact, we asked Officer Dave Jennings to tell us about some of them.
Okay, what you can do is make sure that you always use your deadbolt locks. Make sure that you have exterior lighting on outside of your house. Make sure that your trees and bushes are always trimmed. Make sure that you get your mail and your newspapers stopped when you're going to be away for an extended period of time. And you also will want to let your neighbors know that you're going to be gone so that they can watch your house. And of course, you can always use an alarm system, especially an audible.
Oh, Bob, Statistics Support Officer Jennings, get this. Homes with security systems are 600% less likely to be burglarized than other homes.
That's an incredible number, Betty. Thanks for your report. A home security system can also offer another type of important protection. At least that's what our next family found out the hard way. Here's the story from our field reporter, Barry Morris.
It was a bright, sunny day that Sunday last spring when Brenda got the telephone call that would forever change her life.
We were at my mother-in-law's who live a mile away, and one of my good friends who lives 2 doors over, and she pretty much knows where I would be. And she called my mother-in-law. She's like, "Is Brenda and Mike there?" And we were like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Your house is on fire," and it's just your heart just stops, and we just dropped everything and ran out the door, and like I said, they live a mile away, and you just see all the black smoke, and you just think, no, this is a dream, this isn't happening. I'm gonna wake up and this will all be different. And then, we drove up, and people are all by that time all looking at it and stopping and gawking, and we drive up, and the subdivision's already blocked off, and so we have to leave our car up there and run down, and you're just in shock. I think the hardest thing for me that I lost was my son's baby book, because he had just, his second birthday was 3 days before the fire. And I had it in my desk in the kitchen, and I was thinking to myself, oh, I need to move that to my closet because I'm not going to be getting into it anymore. And all the other baby books were in my closet, and they were salvaged, and his was totally destroyed. And it was one of those ones that you would write every month what happened, that there as a progression. And I think that was my absolute worst thing that I lost, versus other family photos. I mean, we had some of my son when he was real little, and with his grandparents that are no longer living, and family photos like that. The remaining photos we had were mainly portrait studios, and they have those negatives on file for some couple of years, so you can get those back.
Did you have any type of alarm system or smoke detectors in the house? What kind of protection did you have at the time?
We just had the normal smoke detectors, that you would buy and put up yourself. We didn't have an alarm system.
Do you feel fairly secure with them at the time?
Yes, but now, I mean, even when the firefighters came in, we were standing there, and they brought one out that was still going on. So they went off, but no one hears it next door, and they don't alert the fire alarm. The fire company.
And now you have a system that actually will do that. Does that give you somewhat more sense of security?
Yes, because we're tied directly to the fire department, and they said that would have helped them. They would have got here quicker with those type of fire alarms. Everything we lost was material, so that's replaceable.
Yeah.
But if it was a 9, like I said, it could have been a different story. And so that's someone's looking out for us.
Yeah. And beautiful kids. Thank you. Today, Brenda is back in her rebuilt home, and the only damage that's left is the kind that you can't see, and that's the kind that will last forever. But by the way, Bob, Brenda now has an alarm system.
How much damage do house fires cause every year, Barry?
This year, house fires will do about $5 billion in damage. That averages out to about $50,000 a house. But the real tragedy is some 3,000 people are likely to lose their lives in house fires.
Barry, I know that many states and cities require smoke detectors in homes. Isn't that enough to protect most people from the kind of fire that happened to Brenda?
No doubt about it, Bob. Everyone, whether they live in a home or an apartment, should have a smoke detector. But there are some problems with them. For one thing, we really don't take very good care of them. Smoke detectors should be tested a couple of times a year, and the batteries replaced at least once a year. But then, we're really not sure they're going to work when we need them. Now, another problem with smoke detectors is they will notify you and your family of the possibility of a fire, but that's all. And while that's important, with a security system, not only will you be notified, so will authorities. And that could mean a crucial difference in response time. And Bob, I'm in City Hall now, standing by with Fire Chief Ben Florence. Chief, tell me, how important is response time in getting to a fire scene?
Barry, response times are extremely important. That's where the lives are saved, the property is saved. Fires can accelerate with the amount of combustibles in a home or an apartment. They can accelerate extremely fast. The first 5 minutes is critical for the fire department to respond to that scene.
What's the most important defense a resident or a business person could have in saving themselves and their possessions from fire?
I think a smoke alarm or a fire alarm system in a home is one of the best investments any of us could ever make in our homes. That could very well save a family member's life, your own life, as well as your property.
Especially for a night fire, when a family is sleeping. Why is a monitored system even more important?
At night, while people are asleep in a house, Barry, a monitored system is immediate to the monitoring station or the communications center. That's an immediate call that there is an emergency, a fire emergency in that home or that apartment. And that, again, saves us time.
That makes a very compelling case for having a monitored security system, Barry. Thank you, and also Fire Chief Ben Florence for your report. In just a few minutes, we'll talk to some other experts on security systems, convicted burglars. But first, do law enforcement authorities agree with the fire chief that people would be better off with home security systems? We asked Sergeant Craig Hill, a 28-year veteran of a large suburban police department, to join us. Thanks for coming in, Sergeant Hill. First of all, what do burglars look for when they're deciding which home to break into?
Well, first of all, in the past, burglary has been a crime without witnesses. The suspects would look for certain indicators that would tell them whether or not a house was a potential target. Now, these indicators would include newspapers left in the yard or at the end of the drive, mail in the mailbox, a lawn that's unmowed, or a house that's completely dark with no outside lighting, and sometimes even deliveries left on the front porch. All of these would indicate that no one was at home.
Do burglars tend to strike at certain times?
Well, yes, there are two general types of burglars. First of all, there are the nighttime burglars. These are the individuals that usually attack an area, in the fall or winter when it gets dark early, and they can come into a neighborhood around 6 o'clock at night. These individuals will look for either a house that's totally dark, or they'll watch for the homeowner actually backing out of the driveway. They're most likely then to park their car, go around to the back, approach the house from the rear, and force open the back door. Now, during the summertime or the daylight saving hours, burglars will enter a residential area at any time after about 10 in the morning. Now, they're usually dressed as painters, as lawn care workers, delivery men, or sometimes they'll just disguise themselves as joggers. And what they'll do is they'll come up to the front door of a home, and if there's no answer when they ring or knock, that front door becomes an easy target when a pry tool is used. They can be inside in a matter of seconds.
Now, in the past, you said that burglary has been a crime without witnesses. Are you suggesting that's no longer the case?
Yes, I am. Today, all of us in law enforcement are facing a new type of burglar. Now, he's generally young, often comes from around the same neighborhood, and in many cases is addicted to narcotics. Now, this type of individual follows no particular pattern. He'll just make a spur-of-the-moment decision and then burglarize an innocent homeowner.
So how do you advise people when they ask, what's the best thing they can do to protect themselves?
Well, Bob, we speak to a number of neighborhood watch groups and to homeowners one-on-one, giving our list of safety tips and encouraging neighbors to watch out for each other. But the bottom line, the only true deterrent is an alarm system that is continuously monitored. Believe me, burglars know to stay away from these houses.
How would an alarm system help prevent a burglary?
Burglars succeed because they're extremely bold. Now, they either find a way to sneak into an unoccupied home these days, or if they have a weapon, they'll actually come right inside. But as soon as an alarm starts blasting, the element of surprise is totally gone. They just won't stick around.
Have you ever interviewed a burglary suspect who told you that they avoided a home when an alarm is installed?
Absolutely, Bob. It's something we hear all the time. They're just looking for that easy mark and any sign of an alarm, and they'll move to another victim.
What generally happens when a burglar breaks into a home with an alarm?
It's real simple. They run. They're not interested in getting caught, so they get out of that house and out of that neighborhood as fast as they can.
Thanks, Sergeant Hill. I may have some more questions for you, so if you can stay with us for just a couple more minutes, we'd sure appreciate it. Well, we've talked to victims. We've also talked to the police and fire professionals. That leaves one other group that we should hear from, the burglars.
Well, I'm a drug addict, and in order to support that, I led a life of crime. Go up and knock at the door, make sure no one's home. And if they answer the door, I mean, it's, is Jimmy Smith here? No. Well, I must have the wrong house, excuse me. And see which would be the easiest way to get in, which is generally through a window. You break the window and go in, or if the door can be jimmied, you jimmy the door. You check out the neighbors and, make sure they're not in the backyard or laundry's not hung out on the line and someone's apt to walk out accidentally and see you. And then it's in and out quick. You don't have you're not trying to move furniture, you're after valuables that you can carry with you real fast. Kids are different. Kids are going to break something. Professionals, you can pick the lock easily on about any home. I can open one just about as fast as you can with your key. Generally alarms, if it's on a home, you're not going to fool with it. Because it's not worth it. You don't know what you're going in for. Alarms are done for stores and jewelry stores and warehouses and things that you can get in and out of, knowing what you're going to get. In a home, it's risky. Alarms, if you have things of value and you have insurance, if you're going to go to the trouble to have insurance binders put on things, just for the appraisals alone, wouldn't it be worth a few $100s to you to go ahead and throw up an alarm system, which will keep people out?
I was in a home. It was getting late. It was about 10 of 12, quarter to 12. We were taking guns, money, jewelry, television set, stereo equipment. My car was up under the carport at the time. We managed to get everything in the car, and we were making the last sweep through the home. I noticed a Jeep pulling up into the driveway with two people were in the Jeep. And I guess at that time he'd seen my vehicle, and I seen him. I hauled over to the guy that was with me as we were coming out, put the gun on him. If he moved, shoot him. We had plenty of weapons in the car that belonged to this man, and that was enough to get him back into his Jeep. And I was caught about an hour later.
Sergeant Hill, you've heard the comments from the burglars. What do you think? How many houses do have security systems?
Actually, not enough. In our area, and I think this statistic is true for most parts of the country, less than 10% of the homes have some sort of security system.
Why don't more people have them installed?
Well, Bob, I believe that people think they're too expensive or too difficult to use, and I believe that most people just don't think it's going to happen to them.
Thanks again, Sergeant Hill. Are home security systems expensive? Are they necessary? And are they too much trouble? We've asked a Dynamark security representative, Jim Korinke, to join us today to talk about the pros and cons of a Dynamark system. How about it, Jim? Are they expensive?
Well, Bob, cost will vary by area, but in most cases, it's less than people spend on their cable TV each month. And the real expense is how much you'll lose if a break-in or fire does occur. Even with insurance covering a lot of the monetary loss, you can never replace lost items of sentimental value or your sense of personal safety. I know, because I get a lot of calls to purchase a security system after someone has been broken into. I can hear the fear in their voices and see it in their eyes. It's not a pleasant time for them. Bob, if I could, I'd like to share with you just a little bit from this testimonial letter. Dear Jim, thank you so much for making us feel safer. We had never even considered the possibility of having our home burglarized. Our neighborhood always seemed so safe, but it did happen. And as you know, afterwards we were so frightened that we even considered moving. But thanks to you and to Dynamark, we can sleep soundly now. Each time we arm the system, we know that our home and everything in it is protected. We wish we had had the foresight to install it before we became victims. And this is just one letter, Bob. You'd be amazed at how many stories like this I hear all the time.
But Jim, aren't most systems just a big noisy alarm designed to scare away burglars?
That's absolutely right, unless, and this is critically important, unless you have a system that automatically sends an alarm to a response center. A Dynamark security system automatically sends a signal to Dynamark's very own UL-listed Emergency Response Center, which is staffed 24 hours a day by trained professionals. Within seconds of receiving an alarm, Dynamark verifies the nature of the emergency and dispatches the proper authorities. That's full protection, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So how would that help someone like Brenda, the lady we talked to earlier who had a house fire?
Well, Dynamark offers many levels of protection, including fire protection. Once the alarm is sent to Dynamark's response center, the fire department can be called immediately. In fact, I believe you have a clip that demonstrates how a potential tragedy could be avoided thanks in part to a Dynamark security system.
Hello? Hello, this is Dynamark calling. We just received a fire alarm from your home. Is everything okay?
Yes, everything's fine. I was cooking and something on the stove caught on fire, but I was able to put it out. Thanks for calling so quickly.
Oh, that's no problem. It's happened to me before. If you'll just give me your passcode, I'll cancel the call to the fire department.
Sure, it's 1234.
Now, as you saw, Dynamark called to make sure everything was okay. In this case, the alarm alerted the homeowner in time to extinguish the fire herself. But if she had not been able to do that, or had not been at home, the fire department would have been sent immediately.
Jim, that's very impressive. But with this level of protection, are these systems difficult to use?
Dynamark systems are easily installed and are even easier to use. In fact, we're just finishing up an installation for a Dynamark customer. I'll ask her if she's willing to help me out with a little demonstration. Lydia, do you mind? Are you ready to try out your new Dynamark security system?
I think so. It just looks a little complicated to me. I'm not sure how much we'll actually use it.
Oh, I think you'll use it all the time because it is so easy. But first, let me ask you, why did you decide to put in a Dynamark security system?
Well, 3 weeks ago, a house around the corner was burglarized in the middle of the day. And then another one a couple blocks over was burglarized. So, even with the neighbors watching and the police driving through all the time, I didn't feel safe coming and going with the kids.
I understand. I talk to people all the time who feel that way, especially working parents who have children coming home from school each day. But I think you'll feel very secure with your Dynamark security system. First of all, installation in your house, as in most homes, was pretty simple. It took our crew less than 3 hours to do everything. We have the main control out of the way in the basement. Throughout the house, we have motion detectors. We installed contacts on each of the main entry doors. We also have the smoke detectors linked to the 24-hour emergency response center. Then, at each of the main entry doors, we put a small keypad. So, let's try it out. Okay, here we are.
I haven't even programmed my VCR. Is this going to be easier?
Oh, much, much easier. In fact, you mentioned that you have kids.
10 and an 8-year-old.
Well, this system is so simple, they'll be using it when they come home from school. Good. So all you have to remember is a 4-digit code. It can be your ATM code or the year that someone important in your family was born, any code that's simple for you to remember. Okay. Now, just for the purposes of this demonstration, Dynamark has already programmed in the code 1234.
Okay.
All right, so anytime you want to arm your system, just punch in your code.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's right, and then push the button marked away.
Okay.
Okay, you'll have 60 seconds to leave the house and lock the door behind you.
Great.
Okay, now let's say that you've returned home again.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Oh, so now what do I do?
Well, just punch in your code again.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4.
And now hit the button marked off.
Off.
Right.
Is that it?
That's it.
Oh.
You'll have 30 seconds to enter your code and hit the off button.
Great.
That's plenty of time for you or your 10-year-old, but no time at all for a burglar who can't even begin to guess how many numbers are in the code, let alone what those numbers might be.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, since it's off now, is it off while I'm at home?
Oh, you can leave it off if you want to, But a great feature about a Dynamark system that you'll probably want to use, or at least teach your children to use, is the stay mode.
So what's the stay mode?
Well, that's when the system is still protecting all its outside entry points, but lets people move around inside without setting the system off.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a few. We have a dog. Will his moving around activate the system?
Not at all. We can set the motion detectors so that they won't be accidentally triggered by a pet.
Okay. Do I have to come to this control panel to set the alarm?
Not necessarily. One terrific option of a Dynamark system is a remote control that lets you turn on the system from inside or outside the house. Let's say that you've gone to bed and you've forgotten whether or not you set the alarm. You can do a quick check and turn on the alarm without getting up. Or let's say that you're driving away and you can't remember if you set the alarm. Same thing. Just use your remote to arm the system. Another great feature about the remote control is the panic button.
Okay, so that button?
Yes, this button right here is the panic button. If you ever feel threatened, say by a stranger when you return home, or if you ever need assistance, just press the panic button. And Dynamark's 24-hour emergency response center is right at work.
The panic feature is a great feature to have. I have one more question.
Sure.
Do I need to arm my system in order for my heat and smoke detectors to work?
No, not at all. Your fire protection is always active, constantly testing the air for smoke or sudden increases in temperature that would indicate a fire. So, what do you think?
It sounds great. I feel much better knowing that someone is watching the house 24 hours a day. I'm glad we got the system, and I have to say I'm glad we chose Dynamark. Thanks, Jim.
Well, thank you, Lydia. And remember that our number is on the main control panel if you ever have any questions.
Thanks.
I have one more question for you, Jim. If our viewers are interested in knowing more about a home security system, what should they do?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, Bob, there is a number on the screen they can call right now. And now is a great time to extend a special offer from Dynamark Security Centers. Call the number on your screen right now for a no-obligation security consultation and see a demonstration of an actual Dynamark system. Call now and Dynamark will install a state-of-the-art security system in your home for no money down. That's right. Dynamark will install a basic security system, including the equipment, for no money down. You only agree to pay the monthly monitoring service, which costs less than $1 per day for 36 months. Please, for the safety of your home and family, call the number on your screen right now. Operators are standing by to arrange for a Dynamark security consultant to show you this amazing system. There's no purchase necessary, so the only risk you run is not having this system in place to protect you and your family.
We hope you found this program informative and eye-opening, and invite you to call the number on your screen to find out how you can help make your home and family more secure. I'm Bob Thill. Thanks for joining us on the Dynamark Home Security Network.